In 2025, a 64-year-old retiree started collecting Social Security early. She was getting $1,800 a month. Not great, but enough to cover rent and groceries while she worked part-time at a retail store. Then one month, her check dropped to $900. She called Social Security, panicking. The agent said, "Ma'am, you earned too much last year. We're withholding your benefits." She had made $23,000 stocking shelves. She thought she was being responsible. Instead, the government took half her Social Security check, and they are not giving it back until she turns 67. This is called the earnings test. And if you are between 62 and your full retirement age, it is a trap that most Americans do not see coming. Before we go further, quick reminder. This is educational content only. I am not a financial advisor. Always consult a professional before making retirement decisions. Now, here is the math that is destroying early retirees. If you collect Social Security before your full retirement age, which for most people today is 67, the government allows you to earn up to $23,400 in 2025. That is the magic number. $1 over that line, and they start clawing back your benefits. For every $2 you earn over that limit, they take away $1 of Social Security. So imagine you are 64 and collecting $20,000 a year from Social Security. You get a part-time job that pays $30,000. You are now $6,600 over the earnings limit. The government will withhold $3,300 of your Social Security. You thought you were being smart, working a little longer to build a cushion. Instead, you just worked for free. And here's where it gets worse. Because the withholding does not happen gradually, Social Security does not just reduce your monthly check by a small amount. They stop sending checks entirely until they have recovered the full penalty. So if the government calculates that you owe them $3,300 in withheld benefits, and your monthly check is $1,667, they will stop paying you for 2 full months. No check in January, no check in February, and then in March, you might get a partial payment to make up the difference. Imagine being 64 years old, living on a fixed income, and suddenly your Social Security just disappears for 2 months because you worked a few extra shifts. But even if you avoid that trap, there is a second penalty hiding in plain sight. And this one hits you on April 15th. Because while the government is taking away your Social Security for earning too much, the IRS is also taxing the Social Security you do get. Here is how the calculation works. The IRS adds up your adjusted gross income. That is your wages, your interest, your dividends. Then they add in half of your Social Security benefits. They call this your combined income. If that combined income exceeds $25,000 as a single person or $32,000 as a married couple, up to 50% of your Social Security becomes taxable. And if your combined income exceeds $34,000 as a single person or $44,000 as a married couple, up to 85% of your Social Security is taxable. Let me walk you through a real example. You are 64. You collect $20,000 a year in Social Security. You earn $25,000 at your part-time job. Your combined income is $25,000 in wages, plus half of your Social Security, which is $10,000. That gives you a combined income of $35,000. You are now over the $34,000 threshold. So 85% of your $20,000 Social Security benefit, which is $17,000, is now taxable income. You will pay federal taxes on that $17,000. And depending on your state, you might pay state taxes too. So just to recap, you earned too much, so the government withheld part of your Social Security. And then the IRS taxed the Social Security you did receive. You got hit twice. It is a double trap. Now, some financial advisors will tell you this is fair. They will say, Social Security was never meant to be collected while you are still working. It is a retirement program, not a side hustle. And on paper, that logic sounds reasonable. But in 2025, the reality is very different. The average 65-year-old has less than $200,000 saved for retirement. A basic retirement, according to major financial institutions, now costs over $1 million. And Social Security replaces only about 40% of your pre-retirement income if you are an average earner. So what are people supposed to do? If you claim Social Security at 62 because you need the money, and then you realize you cannot survive on $1,500 a month, your only option is to go back to work. But the moment you do, the government punishes you. It is not a safety net. It is a penalty for being poor. So what is the actual safe number? What can you earn without triggering this disaster? For 2025, if you want to keep your full Social Security check and avoid getting crushed by taxes, you need to stay under that $23,400 earnings limit. That breaks down to about $1,950 per month, roughly $17 an hour for a 25-hour-per-week job. $1 over that, and the government starts the clawback. But here is the thing most people miss. The earnings limit only applies to wages and self-employment income. It does not apply to investment income, pensions, rental income, or withdrawals from your IRA or 401k. So if you are 64 and you need extra money, you are actually better off selling some stocks or pulling from your retirement account than taking a part-time job. Let me show you why. Imagine you need an extra $10,000 this year. You have two options. Option 1. You take a part-time job and earn $10,000. But that puts you over the earnings limit by about $10,000. So the government withholds $5,000 of your Social Security. You effectively earned $5,000 after the penalty. Option 2. You withdraw $10,000 from your traditional IRA. You will pay income tax on that withdrawal. If your tax rate is 12%, you pay $1,200 in taxes. You keep $8,800. And your Social Security is completely untouched. Option 2 is better, by almost $4,000. The math is broken, but that is the system. Now, does this mean you should never work if you collect Social Security early? Not necessarily, because here is the one piece of good news. The money the government withholds is not gone forever. When you hit full retirement age, they recalculate your benefit and give you credit for the months they withheld payments. Your monthly check goes up slightly to make up for it. But that recalculation is not dollar for dollar. It is not like the government puts your withheld money in a savings account and pays you interest. They just adjust your future benefit based on the number of months you did not receive a check. And that adjustment takes time to break even. If the government withholds $5,000 when you are 64, and your recalculated benefit increases by $50 per month starting at age 67, it will take you 100 months, or more than 8 years, to recover that lost money. You would be 75 years old before you break even. And if you do not live that long, the government keeps the money. There is no refund. There is no inheritance for your kids. It just disappears. So what should you consider doing? If you can afford to wait, delaying Social Security before your full retirement age may be worth exploring. Every year you delay between 62 and 67 increases your benefit by about 5 to 6%. And every year you delay between 67 and 70 increases your benefit by 8%. If you claim at 62, you are locking in a 30% smaller check for life compared to claiming at 67. And if you wait until 70, your benefit could be 77% higher than claiming at 62. That is the difference between getting $1,400 a month at 62 versus $2,500 a month at 70. Over a 20-year retirement, that is a difference of more than $250,000. But if you need the money now, here is the safe strategy. 1. Stay under the earnings limit, $23,400 in 2025. Track it monthly. If you are getting close in October or November, stop working. Do not cross that line, because the penalty applies to your annual earnings, even if you did not know about the rule. 2. If you need more income, consider pulling from tax-deferred accounts like a traditional IRA or 401k. Yes, you will pay taxes on the withdrawal, but you will not trigger the Social Security clawback. And in many cases, the taxes you pay will be lower than the Social Security penalty. 3. If you are married, coordinate with your spouse. If one of you is under full retirement age and the other is over, the working spouse can earn unlimited income without affecting the other person's Social Security. This is a huge loophole. If your spouse is 68 and you are 64, your spouse can go back to work full-time and it will not touch your benefit. And 4, if you absolutely must work and you know you are going over the limit, consider waiting until January of the year you turn your full retirement age. In that year, the limit jumps to $62,160 in 2025, and it only applies to the MONTHS before your birthday. After your birthday month, there is no limit at all. So if you turn 67 in June, you can earn up to $62,160 between January and May without penalty. And starting in July, you can earn $1 million in Social Security will not touch your check. The system is designed to punish people who claim early and try to keep working. It is not fair, but it is the law. And if you are wondering why this rule exists, it goes back to the original purpose of Social Security. When the Social Security Act was signed in 1935, the retirement age was 65, but the average life expectancy for men was 58. The program was designed for people who could not work anymore. The idea was simple. If you are healthy enough to work, you should not be collecting a government check. Social Security was supposed to be a last resort, not a supplement. But in 2025, the world is different. People are living longer. Jobs are more physically demanding for older workers. And the cost of living has exploded while wages have stayed flat. Telling a 64-year-old with arthritis and high blood pressure that they cannot work without losing benefits is not protecting the system. It is punishing survival. So if you are between 62 and 67 and you are thinking about claiming Social Security, run the math first. Add up your expected wages. Compare it to the $23,400 limit. And if you are even close, talk to a financial advisor before you file. Because once you claim, the penalties start immediately. And unlike taxes, you cannot just pay them back. The government takes the money, holds it for years, and MAYB, he gives you credit later. That is the rule that destroys Social Security before age 67. It is not a conspiracy. It is just math. But it is math that most people do not learn until it is too late.